boom, 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 boom. Let's see if anyone's here on a 4th of July. I got 5 people in here. Let's make sure we can hear me. As always, I am never prepared on time. I would have been prepared this time, but granddaughter came in and needed me to do something for her. And being the papa that I am, can we hear me? My videos. All right, first comment, Call of Duty Ops.
All right, first comment.
All right.
Call of Duty Ops.
My audio's there. Hey, how is everyone? How is everyone? It is 4th of July. I hope if you're on the East Coast, you were staying cool. I was just reading some horrible things about it, how hot it is. Happy 4th of relocation. There you go. I hope everyone's doing good. Happy 4th of July, Nation's Independence Day. I just did my thing. That light makes my teeth look extremely yellow. Oh my God. That does look bad. My teeth are not that yellow, I promise you. Dear God. That's getting a little better. Yeah, okay. So I have a kind of an amber tint to my light, so it's making my teeth look like I haven't been to the dentist or I don't own a toothbrush. Audio's good. Good. Hotter than Satan's butthole here in New York. I have heard that before. $250. Now, this is how old I am. Some of you, I'm sure, are around my age, but I remember the Bicentennial and all the schools. This is what I remember about it. All the schools got to paint a fire hydrant. And I got to be part of the design for the fire hydrant. It was pretty neat. We made a little Minuteman. So some of them were flags, some of them were little Minutemen, something to do with the United States. Maybe had the Liberty Bell on it or Statue of Liberty, something like that. I remember that vividly. And I was, like, what was I? I was like 9 years old, 8 years old. There you go. Someone remembers. So, but yeah, oh God, I had such a good time with that. It was so fun. So fun. It's like one of those projects we planned for. It was, the planning started in like the beginning of the school year. So what are we talking, like September, October, somewhere in there. And we'd planned it. And then it got to be like May and we finally started painting them and stuff like that. So they'd all be ready by 4th of July. I remember the local newspaper, the Daily Breeze, had a picture of all of them, and I remember seeing mine. I was so proud. Not like I was the only one. It was like a big class group project. I think the whole school's involved in it or something. How is Team Briggs? Team Briggs is doing pretty good. Is Thor finally hitting people with a hammer, acting like Fred Flintstone? I vote McLovin for president. I think we all need McLovin for president. I just talked Thor. He just got home from breakfast, lunch now, I guess, brunch, and he's downstairs in his. I have this section of my house, it's almost like an apartment in my house, which is downstairs. It's got its own bathroom and all that stuff, and it's huge. It's like 4 times the size of this room right here. So that's where he lives since he moved back from California. So yeah, he's down there, got his whole workstation built there, downstairs, everything. So in case you don't know, my son Thor edits all the videos. And I'm sure if he was here, his teeth wouldn't look that yellow. These lights, time to get new lighting. No, I'm just kidding. Hope everyone's doing well, though. Kids in Grand Denver, Littleton. I'm moving to Houston. 94. Shit, yeah, wow. They're in Denver, huh? I would look at Colorado Springs. If you could afford it, I would look at Boulder. Those are probably your 2 best options. Let me look at some of the stats here real quick. Boulder would be the one I would choose out of those 2, but it's expensive. Arvada is nice also. Let's look at the stats though of Boulder. Boulder's cost of living, like, it's expensive. It's overall 75% above the national average. Their housing is 233% above the national average, but it is definitely the better choice. Now let's look at Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs. Now, if you were in the military, you probably already know. Well, if you were in the army, you know about Colorado Springs. That is where you will find Fort Carson, unless they've changed the name to that one too. So their cost of living is better. It's not perfect, but it's better. Their housing is 51% above the national average, and they're only 21% above the national average. But these are nice places to live, so you expect it to be a little more expensive. So those would be the best options. Arvada is a great option too, like I'd said. Um, but yeah, those are the ones I always recommend to people. You've got some other ones that, they're pretty good. Glen Eagle's decent. Of course, Monument's decent. If you want to go into the mountains a little more, you got Wood Park. Wood Park is nice. I've been there before. It's Woodland Park. Sorry, why do I call it Wood Park? Their cost of living is a little up there too. Let's see what it is now. 70% above the national average for housing, 27 for overall. So that's not bad, but their crime, their housing, their health and safety, their employment are all really good. You don't need to worry about schools because it sounds like you're retiring. That's your kids' problem now for their kids. So their schools get a C. It's not horrible, but it's not the best. So yeah, my suggestion: look at Woodland Park, look at Boulder if you can afford it, and then look at Colorado Springs. All right. Any other questions you had about those three? Pennsylvania is good or bad? So yeah, Pennsylvania's good. I would definitely move there. You got to deal with the winter. That can get rough in some areas. Myself, I love Honesdale, Pennsylvania, and the surrounding area. Like I have some property in Bethany out there, so um, I love Pennsylvania. Wanted to move there. The whole family voted me down, so here we are in Oregon. But I would choose Pennsylvania if I didn't have any attachments here, probably over Oregon. Might want to move to Vermont or Wisconsin before that, but I'd be living in Pennsylvania right now, rural Pennsylvania. Now, Pittsburgh, it's a city, so it's got its whole host of problems that comes with the city, but in recent years, they've been moving in the right direction on a lot of things. Remote work, affordability, are really big there. Affordability is good in Pittsburgh, and a lot of people that work remotely are moving in there. So it's a city on the rise. Definitely a good time to get in there because in 10 years, it's kind of going to be a little more expensive buying houses. So that's my opinion. Pennsylvania is a great place to live. Woodland Park, yeah, so is Colorado Springs. Not all states, even if they're Democratic run thing, they're not all the entire state's not red or blue. No, other than Oklahoma and West Virginia, that's about the only two where the entire state is almost entirely uh, red. I mean, even Oregon. Oregon is considered one of the more liberal states. We've got a whole backside of this state that is conservative. What's my take on Carson City, Nevada? Let me get the stats for you. I don't mind it. You get a little winter up there and all that. It's kind of cool. But the best part about it, in my opinion, you're close to Reno, but you're not on top of Reno. So that's kind of nice. You also are not too far from Lake Tahoe, which I absolutely love Lake Tahoe. Absolutely love Lake Tahoe. In my opinion, I think it is probably one of the best looking or most beautiful lakes I have ever visited in my life. Lake Powell, in its own way, is very beautiful too, but I think Lake Tahoe's easily the most beautiful lake I've ever been to. So I would definitely move to Carson City. I just like the rain and it's still got that deserty California highland desert type feel to it. They got pine trees and stuff like that, but here in Oregon, the ground is always kind of muddy and wet. Not completely, but it's just always damp. I like that more. So that's why I would live in Oregon over someplace like that. Yeah, Bend area. There are little pockets, usually around cities, and Bend is very much a liberal city these days. Salem, Oregon. I was just there oh God, I guess it's been about a year now. Last summer I was there, just went to film around there, ran into a protest. So it's the state capital, so you're always gonna have some stuff like that. But it's uh it's a nice city. It's got problems, not nearly as bad as, let's say, Portland or other places. They got some homeless. I went around. Now, this is the thing. I went there pre-pandemic, and just as the pandemic was kicking off, and the homeless camps were everywhere. You couldn't go down by the river without seeing a bunch of homeless people. When I went last summer, they were there, but not nearly as bad as they were the 3 or 4 years prior. Okay, here's a good one. Looking for rural land to homestead, possibly thinking about Indiana, good or bad. Okay, so it is good, but now I'm not I've never done that, but just from my experience and my reading and the research I've done, they've got some rules you need to check into before you do it, but it is a great option because they got a lot of land and they are a very affordable state, Indiana. So definitely look at the local laws about all that. And now, last time I did research on this was about 2 years ago. So they're getting more areas are getting more welcoming, especially in a state like Indiana, where they're losing a lot of their population. So they might have lessened the restrictions on that. So check into it. Hey, Jenny, happy 4th. Adirondacks, Catskills, Finger Lakes region is also one of the most beautiful areas in the country. I have a retirement income, 50 years old, 4,000. Where would you live? Okay, where would I live? Well, 4,000 a month is decent. I mean, that's not poverty wages really. It's not the greatest, but it's you could get by on that. Team that up with a, part-time job someplace, you can live okay. Now, on $4,000 a month, if you want to go total save money and all that, right now I would look at some places in North Carolina. North Carolina has got some great options. They're a little more expensive of the 3 I'm about to tell you about. So that's good. Now, if you really want to live like a king, you move to West Virginia or Arkansas. And they both have their problems with poverty and everything else like that. So if you're selective about where you move to, a lot of people have been moving to Oklahoma. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. I think they got some problems coming down the pipe on them. So yeah. Cheswick, thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it in these days with YouTube. Way they are. Recent hired by giant energy company Next Era outside West Palm Beach. Hard Port Street, Lucy Street is good for affordability, but schools low crime. Are schools okay? Low crime. Let me check it out. West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach, Florida. Wow, it's got some good stats here. First of all, cost of living is decent, especially for a coastal city. The overall cost of living is 16% above the national average. It's not horrible. And their housing is 46% above. Keep in mind, there are places not too far from West Palm Beach where the housing is 300 and 400% above the national average. So not doing bad. Crime, let's check it out. Okay, again, same sort of thing. Their crime rate is 28% above the national average. The grand scheme of things, that is not terrible. We have again places like Detroit, Memphis, where you're going to see crime rates that are 400 and 600% above the national average. So keep that in mind. So 28% is not terrible. It's not great. Sure, we'd like to have it on average, but it's not like you're got to put bars on your window and watch your back everywhere you go. So that is not a bad option. West Palm Beach, nice place. Uh, Employment, you've already got a job. Don't worry about that. Commute, their commute gets an A plus. So that's kind of refreshing for that area. Uh, Schools, they get a C, not terrible. Health and safety, meaning you've got access to clinics, doctors, and hospitals there. They get an A plus. Uh, they rarely rate grade hospitals on the quality. I mean, the biggest thing is the access. And when it's an A plus, that means they have plenty of access to hospitals there. Probably got some major hospitals in the area. Let me see. St. Mary's Medical Center, Good Samaritan Hospital, JFK Medical Center North. Okay, so you got all that you need. You got four major hospitals, Jerome Golden's, I don't know, Center. I don't know what that is. But they say they have four hospitals directly in that area. So I think it's a good option. Thanks for supporting the channel. The crime is decent. What do I think about Rome, Georgia? Well, I've been there before, but it's been years. Let's take a look. Rome, Georgia, not to be confused with oh, they got a lot of F grades here. Their cost of living is low, which is a good thing because everything else sort of sucks. Crime, let's see what that is. That's not terrible. They're 88% above the national average. Their violent crime rate's 118% above the national average. Check out their employment. Those numbers don't look good. Oh, okay. Well, their unemployment is 18% below the national average. Here it is. Their income per household and income per capita are very low. 28% below the national average for household, 12 for individuals. Let me see here. Give you an idea. The average income per capita in the United States right now is about $45,000. That's the average. Obviously, most people are going to be making a whole bunch and then whatever. It averages out to 45,000. Rome, it's about 39,000. So, yeah. Unemployment rate for okay, so their employment rate's really low, but their poverty level is really high. That tells me the jobs they do have suck. So if you're going there with your own job, might be a great option, but I wouldn't be going there looking for a high-paying job. And I am scratching my nose not because I have a drug problem, but because sinuses and all that. If you follow this channel, you know I suffer from that pretty bad, and I don't like taking a lot of pills. Boris, thank you very much. I enjoy my sarcastic jokes. I like the dry humor. That's what I've been told my humor is, dry humor. Okay, let me see if I can catch up with some of these. I was kind of stuck on some people's things here. What about Cloudcroft, New Mexico? Has elevation safe flooding. Let's take a look. I've heard of it. I've never been to it. Crop, New Mexico. Ooh, they don't have the highest livability score, 60, which, like I tell people, anything under about 64 is not great. Their crime is 74% above the national average. Violent crime, 112% above the national average. Their employment numbers, well, again, 45 is the national average. Their income per capita is 31,000. So they're pretty low. Housing, health and safety doesn't look great. You got to drive if you need anything more than urgent care if you're living there. Schools get a C plus. But employment and crime, they give them an F. Those aren't the greatest stats. Let's see what the cost of living is. Cost of living is 4% above or below the national average, which is decent, and housing's 10% lower. So it's affordable, but with affordability comes some problems. They don't look like major problems, but they're not average. Ooh, ship crossing, that sucks. It's almost like here. I grew up in Los Angeles, and traffic sucks there. But I never once in my life got stopped by the lumber train. And I was late for work, like right when I started with Netflix, like 3 days into working there. I was like 20 minutes late for work because I got stuck behind a lumber train that apparently knew I was late. All right, let me see if I can catch up. I'm sorry if I'm missing some of these guys. There's a lot coming in. Got 150 people here. And besides the comments you see, we have some that are being blocked, and I got to delete them. And apparently, my take on people leaving racist comments has sparked some fury. I've gotten no less than 60 emails from people angry that I would dare suggest certain types of comments were racist. Just retired to Hamilton, Alabama. Hamilton, Alabama. Why does that sound so freaking familiar? Let's take a look. Boom, 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 boom. Cost of living, A plus. How low is that? Oh, wow. This is rarity, folks. If I had a bell right now, I'd ring it. Overall cost of living, 16% below the national average, which is not bad. Housing is 45% below the average. So here is a really strange one. Now, their biggest problem right now, I will tell you, is they don't have the best jobs in the world, and they don't have any. Well, you're going to have to drive for specialty care for health care. That's the problem. So their health care, health and safety get an F. Their amenities, not a lot to do there, is an F. But their crime is a B. Their cost of living is an A plus. Their housing is A plus. But the crime is a B. You never see extremely affordable places with decent crime numbers. Their total crime rate is 9% below the national average. Their violent crime rate is 48%, and their property crime is 1%. Now, this is really strange. Normally, wow, this place is an anomaly. Normally, when you have bad employment numbers, and let's see how bad they are. National average, like I said, 45,000 a year for a single person. Hamilton, it's 29,000, and they got about 20% of their population living below the poverty line. But only 2% employment rate. That's less than half of what the national average is. So they don't have a lot of high paying jobs here, but the people are decent because they're not committing crime. And normally, when you have a place that has 20% poverty, national average 15, you have a lot of property crime because human beings, when they can't get by, they start doing stupid shit to get by. Stealing is one of those things. But that, even though it doesn't have the greatest thing, I think its biggest problem is not the best jobs in the world. If you're retired, great. And the fact that they don't have any decent hospitals around, or you've got a distance to get to them, is what I should say. That's their biggest problems. Not a bad choice. I think it'd be great. Okay. I have tested clear treatment for aging. What's a good place to open up a practice? The Villages in Florida. Don't worry about. What do you think about Cincinnati? Is it a good place? One of my favorite videos I've done, probably in the last 2 years, was all about Cincinnati and the history of Cincinnati. And one of the strangest things about that video is how across the Rhine, over the Rhine, that neighborhood, how it's turned around in the last 20 years. I'm going to put this one up there for you guys to see. So if you want to watch this one, watch this. This is a video I really, really liked. But I think Cincinnati's great. I think it's had some rough patches, and I think they're on the upswing right now. I think, yeah. It's a city, so it's gonna have some places. Make sure you look at what you're getting into before you move someplace. But watch that video. I explain a lot of stuff there about where you should live. Okay, we're retiring in Tone. They're building a new hospital, which is always good. New Ford plant is going up about an hour away. Oh, let's check it out. Bolivar. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sure I didn't. Okay, so wow, wow. Okay, cost of living and housing is dirt cheap, and that's usually a bad sign. And their violent crime rate is 54% above the national average. Their total crime rate 77%. That violent crime rate is a scary number there, right? It's not as bad as the 600, but when they start getting over 200% above national average, that's pretty rough. Cost of living though is dirt cheap. 14% below the national average. Houses are 40% below the national average. Employment numbers, let's check out those for you. Unemployment rate is, oh God, look at this. Well, I hope that Ford plant does something for them. The national average for unemployment is 4.9% right now. Tennessee, it's 4.8. Congratulations, Tennessee, you're 0.1% below. Boulevard is 14.9%. Yeah, so that's a high unemployment rate. Over a quarter of their population lives below the poverty line. That was the first one. Let's check out the other one you said, the other town in that county area. Wow. This one doesn't have great numbers either. About the same thing. Violent crime, 46% above the national average. Total crime rate, 85% above the national average. Employment numbers. Let's see how bad. This is that other one. Tone, whatever it is. Oh, here's a weird one. Okay, what the? Their poverty level is 53.8%, meaning more than half this town, lives below the poverty line. Now, their unemployment rate is 0.4%. That's weird. How many people they got living here? Oh, that's only 483 people. So don't even take that all with a grain of salt. But blended together, these places don't look great. Wow, those are some scary numbers. And their schools get a big fat F. High school test scores are 39% below the national average, and their graduation rate is 13% below the national average. Their residents with bachelor's degrees is 81% below the national average. That's rough. All right, let's move on to a couple other ones. I'm gonna do more top 10 reasons not to move to somewhere. Yeah, I used to roast places. That's all this channel started off. I was just roasting places left and right. And and people started wanting more, like where to move and things like that. And plus, you can only just roast people for so long before you start running out of things to talk about. What is my what is your least favorite out of the 10 largest metro areas? I would say Houston. Not a fan of Houston. Yeah, I don't like Houston. Houston just I don't know. I've been there handful of times in my life. The first time I went, I was in the military back in I think it was the 90s, early 2000s, and then I went in 2011, and then I was there 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago. Each time I was just all this place sucks. Out of plain curiosity, how do you find these numbers in cities? So there's a couple different websites, but the one I use all the time that I have access to that nobody else does, it's It's because it's a website they're working on right now, and it's eventually going to be launched. When that is launched, I will tell you about it. But it's a website nobody else can use. Well, I'm sure they've got other people that use it, but I can't share it with anyone. But Niche is a good one. Look at Niche, niche.com. Yeah, Houston does have a lot of really good food options. There's no denying that. Though oddly enough, one of the best places besides I love Chicago pizza and I love barbecue just about anywhere. But if I'm gonna go to Texas, I'm looking for Mexican food. And one of the best places I go for that is Laredo. Oh, love that stuff. I gained so much weight if I was living in Laredo. I'd be eating so many Mexican food places, I'd get an accent. Concerned about the Cascadia earthquake threat for West. I'm not concerned about it. I grew up in Southern California. Earthquakes are nasty, but it's almost like worrying about a giant asteroid hitting your house. There's so many other things that could kill you that this Cascadia subduction zone or whatever it's called, you might as well worry about the big strato volcano they have in Wyoming, which is Yellowstone. Worry about all that stuff. Oh, I got it. Whew, that was rough. Right before I went on, I started looking around my room, like, worry. I was watching some. First of all, I saw like a TikTok video, short video, where this girl started saying something, and right next to her was a big thing maybe a lonely woman might have on her nightstand. She's just talking away, and this thing is there. It's like you forget what she's saying because you just look at this thing going, "Why is that there?" And then I was watching this older guy. He was talking about being a 65-year-old YouTuber or something like that. And on the shelf right behind him, there's all kinds of Tums, Preparation H stuff. He was going through some things. I was like, "Oh my god, thank you." It was huge, like a baby arm. What would I choose between New Hampshire or Pennsylvania for conservative, low crime, decent work? I'd go to Pennsylvania. Suburban lifestyle, Pennsylvania. It's going to be cheaper than New Hampshire. Even though they got higher tax, it's still going to be cheaper. Michigan, please, pros and cons. Pros, beautiful country, decent people, some really nice cities to live in outside of Flint, um, you know, Detroit, and a few other places. Uh, Great place to live, in my opinion. Downside, the winters can be harsh and the summers have some of the worst mosquito situations I've ever. Now, keep in mind, I've lived in the South, but I think Michigan has way worse situation with their mosquitoes. What about Chattanooga, Tennessee? Now, I've been beating the drum for Chattanooga for a while. They have done some really good things that have brought in a lot of remote workers. They're doing things right there. That's a city also on the rise. I think 5 6 years, a lot of people are going to be talking about Tennessee. A lot of tech companies are kind of moving that not giant ones, but smaller tech companies are moving into the Chattanooga area. So it's a great place. Good morning, Briggs. Does your source website have data on territories? It does. Um, Not all of them. I know the Virgin Islands. It has them on Guam, um, Puerto Rico. I think that's about it. We got some territories that are just so small. You know, Roanoke Valley, Virginia. What about Roanoke Valley, Virginia? Nice place to live. No, Dollywood is outside of Knoxville. That's the closest. It's not Gatlinburg and all that's all around there. But yeah, Yeah, in my opinion, I don't know how people enjoy towns with under 2,000 people. Those places are literally far away from decent grocery store. Yeah, that can be a problem. I was the same way. I'm a suburb guy. I grew up in the suburbs. Most of my life, I've lived in the suburbs. Recently, I'm all, man, I never really lived downtown in a city like, a big giant one like New York City or not like I'd want to live in San Francisco or Seattle. Um, I mean, Atlanta for a little bit, but not really. Uh, and I've always in Boston. Boston's another one. I always wanted to live downtown. Never got around to doing that in my life. And now as I'm older, kind of like being on the outskirts. I'm like, it's like I am technically in a suburb, but if I go 6 blocks that way, not even 6 blocks, I'm into farmland and I like it. Do you think Detroit will be a good place to live by 27? I think it's going to be a good place to live by 2040. Honestly, they've made great strides. Their downtown is amazing. So once you get that settled, now you can start spreading that out. And they've got a lot of companies are coming back to Detroit, so that's a plus. Jobs are coming up. Once you make your downtown not scary anymore, people start considering it, and that includes businesses that bring jobs. These people need to, they always want to put these data centers in, rural Indiana or something like that. And they need to move it to Michigan where you got tons of water and they've got a lot of open land. I'm sure people don't want them tearing up the forest, but it's also freezing half the year. So that'll cut down on their electricity bill. Just open up the doors and cool everything down. Yeah, I wouldn't if I was younger, my 30s and had a lot of money, I would have moved to New York City. Especially now. It's not that bad. Looking at the stats of these places, you always grow up just assuming New York City's this horrible place because, in the 1980s and 70s, we saw those movies about how bad it was. It's really not that bad. Statistically, it's not that bad. Chicago either. I mean, most of Chicago is pretty decent. It's just the south side and a sprinkling of neighborhoods on the west side are freaking horrible. And that's where the bad reputation comes from. But I think in the video I was talking about the other day, it's like 77 distinct neighborhoods in Chicago. Of those neighborhoods, only about 7 are really bad. They got a lot of medium ones in there too, but only 7 or 8 of the neighborhoods are suck really bad. Out of 77, that's not bad. Yeah, most people outside of New York City are, in other countries, that's what they're thinking about moving to. I mean, like, a matter of fact, the video I just did the other day, no one's laying in their bed in Brussels as a teenager dreaming of the day they can move to Meridian, Mississippi or something. What part of the US has the fewest mosquitoes? Any place where there's a lot of desert. Phoenix, go there. No mosquitoes. Death Valley, California. You just got other things. If you had to choose between St. Louis, Oklahoma City, or Indianapolis, I'd choose Indianapolis. St. Louis sucks, and Oklahoma City is the armpit of the world. Oh, okay. Grew up north, grew up in East Los Angeles, Highland Park. I know exactly where it is. I grew up in Redondo Beach. Okay. Um, what's your opinion on Mississippi's economy growth over the past 10 years? You ever seen a balloon deflate? Very similar to that. Like, it's just losing air all the time and starting to get that little wrinkly, weird thing where it's just limp. Yeah, that's their economy. So I will give Mississippi that. They have put some focus in recent years, maybe last 5, 10 years, on education, and they're doing great things. They finally came to the realization that focusing on blue collar jobs only and education not being much of a thing. They never really put focus on education in Mississippi. And now they're paying the piper for it because they don't have an educated workforce. They have some, not saying, but in general, that's what these companies look at. Do you have, you know, 30,000 people in an area, a giant part of the state that we might be able to pull 2 or 3,000 people out of for this giant corporation tech company? And when they're going, no, we only got about 4,000 educated people. It's like, sorry, we're going to go build someplace where they have educated people. And I'm not bagging on the people in Mississippi. It's like they are hardworking people, and their state just ran on that old mentality for far too long. And now they got to focus and play catch up, which everyone else knows you got to focus on that. Louisiana is not doing great these days. It is sliding downhill. Mississippi worse than Louisiana. They're tied neck and neck. It's hard to tell. Georgia seems like the only deep South state that escaped the bottom rankings all the time. Yeah, it's about the truth. Jason Nelson, what do you think the prospects of Birmingham? Birmingham, I imagine you're not talking about England, you're talking about Alabama. Birmingham has started getting companies moving in there recent years. So that could be positive in the near future, but their crime rate is something they've got to deal with, and I don't think they've dealt with it properly. And obviously not. I mean, let me tell you, Birmingham, I know it's going to be scary. Birmingham, Alabama. So their livability score is 67, which is pretty good because when I started this, I was shocked because it was 54. Okay, talking 7 years ago. Here's what's scary about them. They've gotten a little better. So their total crime rate is 149% above the national average. Okay, so that's not great. Their violent crime rate is 277% above the national average. Not great. Their unemployment numbers, that's where it sucks. Okay, so poverty level is 25.7% above the national average. So that's about 10% higher than the national average. Their employment rate is 6.2%, not great. 4.9 is the national average right now. Health and safety they got a big old fat F for that one. That's not good. Schools, F. Their test scores are 41% lower than the national average. So, yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. Their cost of living is affordable, though. Their housing is affordable. You just got to make sure you got eyes in the back of your head and go live in Birmingham. But I mean, they are moving in the right direction. Like I said, 5 years ago or whatever, maybe a little more, I was looking at Birmingham and I could not believe the numbers. And when I look at their crime rates, or their violent crime rate is only 247, believe it or not, that is a giant leap forward for them. If I live in outside of Portland, Oregon now. But in my life, I've lived in Mississippi, I've lived in Kansas, I've lived in Atlanta. Um, I've lived most of my life in California and now Oregon. A little bit of time with the military in Colorado too. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, guys. Do you watch fireworks for the 4th? I absolutely do. We bought some for my granddaughter and all that, but right across the river in Washington, you can buy the giant ones that just blow up the sky. So the area I live in, probably around 8 o'clock tonight, all those people gone over to Washington, start lighting that crap off around here, and it just blows up. So I don't need to go anywhere for the fireworks. I just look out my porch and I hope the trees around me don't catch fire. What do you think, Colorado Springs during time in the Army? I thought it was nice. I had left Fort Ord, California at the time, and we were closing down Fort Ord and ended up going to Carson for a while. and I liked it. I mean, I kind of fell in love with Denver. Luckily for me at the time, I was I wasn't involved in a unit that was getting deployed all the time, which when I was at Fort Ord was like every other week. So I had a lot of free time, and I got to really enjoy the Denver metro area and Colorado Springs area. If you're in the Pines, yep, it's nice. Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana is not great. You want to hear the stats about Gary, Indiana? Let's see if they're scarier than Birmingham. Oh, Gary might be doing better. Okay, let's check out their crime. Wow, Gary. Oh my God. So let me go back here real quick. I got to check another source. I want to make sure this is right. I'll be damned. Okay, so listen to this. 5 years ago, so 2021, let's go back a little further. That was kind of the pandemic thing. Okay, so let's go 2018. The violent crime rate in June of 2018 in Gary, well, actually, it's the whole year. In Gary, Indiana, was 312% above the national average. That was their violent crime rate. Their total crime rate was 125%, meaning their property crime rate is through the roof also. So that was bad. Right now, their violent crime rate is 47% above the national average. Maybe they ran out of bullets. I don't know. Total crime rate is only 25% above the national average. Bravo. Now, here's the problem 34% of their population lives below the poverty line. Their employment rate is 8.6%. That's pretty rough. Housing is affordable, cost of living 19% below the national average. Housing is 49% below the national average. So it's following the old thing, but their crime isn't as bad as it used to be. So they are moving in the right direction. When did their increase start? Wow. So they started turning it around in 2022. 2023, they got better. 2024 and 2025, they got a lot better. Not bad. That's truth. Desperate people do desperate things. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, or Oshkosh? Don't know much about Oshkosh, but I do know Bonnie Bear or Justin Vernon lives in Eau Claire, and I would love to go visit there again. I went to a girl that in high school. She went to the university there. She loved it. I think she settled down in Wisconsin. So you can hear me. You must have started this over. We've been at it 45 minutes. That's when I was asking that earlier. All right. Why hasn't Duluth this great population? It's too cold. Duluth is far too cold. It's a nice place to live. Their stats are decent. It's just too cold. Hi, Briggs. What state, city, uh, affordable living growth expansion? Okay, so city from North Carolina on up the East Coast. Okay, affordable living growth expansion. Plenty of shopping places, restaurants, just living. Working on relocating from Georgia. Okay, so you want to North Carolina on up. So there are some options there. My opinion, as far as Virginia goes, Virginia is decent, especially the northeastern side of Virginia, Northern Virginia. That's really good. It's a little expensive. Now, skip over Maryland, and if you're going to Baltimore, no, don't. Delaware is decent. Got a lot of neighborhoods in Delaware that are wonderful. Rehoboth Beach, great place to live. There's some places in rural New Jersey that are decent, but I think things get better once you get past. You go into Pennsylvania, especially the rural areas. It's really good. But then when you get up, what's funny is I don't have a map up here, but I have the map in my head, so I'm looking at an imaginary thing over here, going, "Oh, then you pass there." But You get into New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, if you're looking for safety and, decent place to live, that's where I would head. But I think I would stop at Virginia or go over to Pennsylvania. Then after that, I would think about places in the New England area. Maybe even Rhode Island, 25 miles away from Calistoga. Top cities in Oregon with more affordable houses. Well, Ashland's probably your best bet. You can go out to Burns if you really want to live in the eastern side. That's affordable, but I would choose Ashland. Thoughts on Lexington, Kentucky? Lexington, Kentucky. My experience. This is just my experience part. Uh, People talk to you like you're an idiot there if you ask them a question. I didn't like it. That was that was a personal experience. But coming from a statistic statistic point of view, can even speak tonight. Now I'm coughing again. They got pretty good stats. I mean, cost of living is low, crime is decent, commute is decent, a lot of things to do, housing, health and safety, excellent, schools, excellent. Their employment numbers are not the greatest, but they're not bad. Their employment rate is actually 3.7%. Yeah, it's a great place to live. Lexington is wonderful statistically. I just had a problem with the people, and I'm not talking, I was just there one day. I spent working on a thing there. I spent 3 weeks, I think, the first time. That was in late 90s, and then again around 2012 I spent a week in the Lexington area. All the locals talk to you like you're an idiot if you ask them a question, or god help you if you didn't know some term they use there. They like pounce on you. Guys all, well, you got shit in your ears? Well, is that like a tradition you involve yourself in? Because I've never heard of that. Then he got all irritated and pissy. Especially when I started going, that must be a Kentucky thing. We don't do that in civilized states. He got all mad. Yeah, they are kind of blah. There's nothing exciting going on in Kentucky, Lexington, especially. It's just there. Now, this is what's weird. There's two states, Missouri and Kentucky. Never talk about them on this channel because they're not really terrible at anything and they're not really horrible. Sure, they've got some areas, just like every place, but it's like they're not leading the pack on anything and they're not sucking so bad they're bottom of the barrel. They're always right there in the middle and they rarely get any, you know, we rarely talk about them on this channel because of that. All right. Tell you what, guys, I gotta go get some things done for 4th of July. I was only gonna do this for a half hour, almost an hour right now. So I just want to tell you all happy 4th of July. I'm sorry if I missed anyone. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. These days we rely on super chats. Do you think about Birmingham? I did that one. Oh, got one more. Let me see what this one says. I'll get this one. Besides you expert channel, of course, what's the best website for research that pulls all the stats you always mention? I would look at niche.com and then you look at Zillow. Zillow has a thing, if you just type in average home value, it'll pop up Zillow average home value. Put in whatever city you're looking at. Now, the thing about that one is I like average home value because that gives you a more realistic view of how much you're going to buy a house for. There is the median price, and to most people, that's confusing. To real estate professionals and people with a math degree, median makes more sense to them. I prefer looking at the average home value. You can get that on Zillow. Just type in average home value into Google, and it'll be right there. But thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Like I said, things are weird here on YouTube, and I think I think they're moving us to where, it's we either sell stuff like on TikTok, always have the things selling there, or oh, did I just do that? Or subscriptions and you guys doing super chats. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, that's where I go to niche, I go to that, and as soon as I can tell you about the website I use, I will. I started telling everyone about it a while back, but then they had to pull back. It was weird. Recently, did that one, Virginia Beach. Okay. All right, guys, don't forget to give the channel a big thumbs up. I always want to make sure nobody else does super chat because I always stop it and then I see like three pop up as I'm stopping it. So Spokane, I've done a couple things about Spokane. So yeah. Uh, Look at any of my Washington stuff. I usually talk about Spokane at some point. All right, guys, that is it. I appreciate it. You guys have a great 4th of July. Keep in mind, today is the last day. Some people will have all 10 of their fingers. So, think about them when you're lighting off fireworks today. Everyone be safe, and I will see you in the next live stream.